welcome back to the Whatnauts review show number 324. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you? How's your weekend been?
Fine. Went to a movie yesterday. You've caught me midway through a double feature. Yesterday, I went to go see Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, and then this afternoon, I go see the Spike Lee remake, Highest to Lowest.
Perfect. I have not heard much yet, and I didn't, at least last time I checked, did not see Highest to Lowest in my Regal app. It might be one of the ones I have to search for, but I know it's coming to streaming soon, right? Like September 5th or something like that.
Yeah, it's an Apple.
But yeah, I'm excited about that one. I also have not seen the Kurosawa
I think you'd really like it.
Go back and check it out, yeah. So good stuff. A good double feature weekend sounds like a blast. I've been playing some video games and stuff like that. I played the second half of a game called Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which is it's about these four young girls in high school one summer. One of them is about to move to a completely different location. So it's like their final summer together, even though they also just met that summer. But like they instantly become best friends. They start a punk band and maybe start getting up to some witchy stuff in the woods. And spirals out of control by the end. So good fun stuff with that. But yeah, Melissa, we are doing something today on the show that we've only done once before.
Yes.
We're covering an actual book. An actual book. Yeah, look at that. We both
it has
have it.
Some
awesome. Pictures,
but not many.
Enough to keep me interested. No. Yeah, we tend to like stick to movies and TV or comics, and we've only done one other novel on the review show, and we were like, you know what, it's kind of about time that we do another book.
That other book was House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, which we talked about on episode 172 in September 2021. So almost 4 years ago. Once every 4 years, same rate at which we get new presidents, you and I will read a book.
Yeah, so we had tossed around the idea of doing like a superhero novel, and there were some options out there, but surprisingly enough was kind of tough to find, especially one that was an original novel and not like an adaptation of some already existing comic story. We wanted something original, and again, they're certainly out there, but was a little bit harder to find than we expected. But I came up with some options and stuff, and I snuck this one onto the list and was like, well, it's not superheroes exactly, but it's set in the comic book industry back in the mid 70s, and it's a crime noir. You know me, I love crime stories and detective fiction and stuff like that. And we ended up going with this one. This is Secret Identity by Alex Segura. That's what we will be talking about today. Melissa, talk to me, because I was the one that kind of influenced you to pick this one. But what were you kind of expecting when I pitched this to you?
You had raved about this.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of reading a book. I like any piece of media where the characters are really invested in a specific niche profession and you can learn about this world via the storytelling. I love to learn. And I thought, we've read comics before, but we have not covered a lot of things that go behind the scenes into how comics are made. And I like the idea of getting that alongside a murder mystery.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think at one point I tried to convince you to read this book by saying, "Hey, you like stories about like the working lady, an office
That's true.
an office woman." And this one kind of has that, right? The main character, Carmen Valdez, basically works as like the assistant to the publisher in this. But yeah, this was my second time reading the book. The first time I did only the audio book, so I listened to it, and I had a great time with that. And for the second time, I went ahead and I bought it. But I also listened to the audio book at the same time. I was reading along, which was actually a really nice experience. I've never done that before, where I've had both, because it was like someone reading to me, but also if I needed to put the book down to like pay attention to my cats or do something else, right? I still had my headphones on, so I could just go do whatever I needed to go do. It was actually kind of a nice experience. But did you by chance check out any of the audio book?
No, my podcast listening time is diminished from what it once was, and it is very precious to me. I get crabby if I'm not allowed to listen to my regular weekly podcasts and I have to listen to something else.
Yeah.
I need 4 hours of blank check on the Hudsucker proxy. I'm sorry. Must have that to live.
Well, that's okay, because you went and you supported your local library, if I am not mistaken, and picked it up that way. So good stuff with that. But yeah, highly recommend the audiobook. You said that there were some pictures in this book, and every so often there are some interstitials where, like a page from a comic or two. As you can see kind of here if you're watching the video version. So they're fun to read in the physical form, but they do like full or like mini audio drama sections for that in the audio book, with like city sound effects, and when they throw the throwing stars or what have you, right? There's sound effects for all of that stuff, which is neat. To just it's just like a nice little treat, a nice little interlude, so to speak. But yeah, Secret Identity by Alex Segura. Let's start off with some general thoughts. Melissa, since this was your first time checking it out, what did you think?
I liked it a lot. It's a compelling mystery. The clues are revealed so slowly. You don't have any real suspects until just about when it is solved. It's a real slow burn of a mystery in a way I wasn't quite accustomed to. I think because this is not about an actual detective.
Right, yeah.
She's not sanctioned to do any of this. She is not required by her job to go out and find a suspect. She just knows the person who was killed has a personal stake in it and just keeps mulling it over, keeps thinking about it, wants to learn more. So that is a different approach to many other mysteries you and I have encountered, at least. You do learn a lot about comics, and it is an interesting noir story. You described it as a noir story, and that's one of the genres that I know on sight. But if I had to design a rubric of what qualifies something as a noir, I struggle to really define it for myself, exactly what it is and isn't, if there isn't light coming through horizontal blinds and a dame like with gams.
Some technical aspects. That's why they called it noir. But so in that sense, can a book be noir? Maybe not, but who cares?
I think it
cares,
can.
Right? It's a yeah.
So this was helpful in me defining what that genre means to me, at least, which I think is grayness. And in this book, there are characters who are good, but who aren't do-gooders. There aren't really any heroes here.
Yeah.
Perhaps outside of our protagonist herself.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed this. because we didn't really check in like midway through, like, what are you thinking or anything like that. So this is the first time hearing your thoughts on this. Yeah, I really, really adore this book. As you guys know, I'm a huge comic book nerd. So something like this that even just takes place in the comic book industry is fascinating to me. And it's oddly like a setting that we don't get much of in any kind of fiction. So yeah, I once I kind of found out what the plot of this was, and that's where it was set, I was like, oh, this sounds awesome. This sounds great. And it was exactly what I wanted. I like mystery novels and crime novels because there's always something new. Like even if you get the same kind of tropes and the same kind of like, oh, it's a detective book where they're not a detective, they just really care about like that's kind of a trope in the detective fiction, but there's always some new way to do that or new way to present a mystery that I'm always intrigued by. And yeah, you said this one is a little bit more of a slow burn. I think the murder doesn't even happen until like past the halfway mark.
It's like this. A 350-page book, and I think the murder is like around page 100. It really like takes a while.
Yeah. And in some cases that might be like, oh, well, this is kind of slow and like it's not really getting to the good stuff, but it's in such an interesting setting that you don't really get that. I'm just kind of fascinated by the world and the characters in this. Of course, again, I kind of have a bias towards that, right? Of just like, I want to know more about Triumph Comics here and who is working in their office and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the book really lets you sit with a number of these characters so that when the murder does happen, you are that much more invested into what is happening. And it's not just someone's husband was killed right on page 5 and I don't know who the husband is or really understand why I should care. Right. Like, so I get to sit with these characters and I see, oh, okay, something's up, something's fishy. That's weird. And then, oh, this guy dies. Huh. Interesting. All right, let's go. Yeah, I just cannot recommend this enough. I think it's a pretty easy, light read to check out. I had a great time. And like I said, cannot recommend the audio book enough. I think that's also a fantastic way to check out this book as well. But yeah, Secret Identity by Alex Segura. Let's do a plot synopsis of this. Melissa, do you want to tackle this one or Sure. Okay.
Carmen, it's set in New York City in the 1970s, and Carmen Valdez works for a third-rate comics publisher that has very little going for it, and she's just the boss's secretary, his assistant, but she's got her foot in the door. She was always wanted to be a comics writer, and finally she gets the opportunity when another coworker comes to her and asks for her help to collaborate on a story that he needs to turn in a very quick timeline. She helps him out and then finds that he has died and the comic he turned in does not have her name on it. So she's stuck not being able to say that she helped create this character because then it looks like she's stealing credit from a dead man. And she's like, well, why did he do that? What is all of this for? And it's a mystery about not just who killed this person, but why, and why did the person who died do what he did? There's a lot more mystery to it than just the whodunit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have much else to add in that except for like, yeah, as you can kind of expect as a woman in the comic book industry in the mid 70s, her being the assistant is maybe one of the only jobs she probably would easily get at that time. And so for her to get this chance to even just help anonymously collaborate, at least at the start, she jumps at that and is like, this might be my foot in the door here, because I know if I did this the regular way, I'd probably be turned down. And stuff like that. So yeah, she jumps at this chance, and then it just kind of spirals out of control from that. So yeah, check it out. Go support your local library. Go buy the book from your local bookstore, wherever. Yeah, I had a good time. I would say this is fairly appropriate for most ages. I wouldn't say it's a children's book, but I would say a young teen would be able to enjoy this. I don't think there's anything scandalous in here.
There's a couple gunshots. There's a few fade to black sex sequences. You know, I guess if you're a high schooler, if you know a high schooler, or if we have high school listeners, which sounds read a lot impossible
in high school than this. So yeah, good stuff. Highly recommend it. I will say there is also a sequel. I won't say much about that right now. I'll put that in the recommendation section at the end of this, but yeah, go check it out. I think this is a good, fun book to read. With that, though, unless you have something else to say, we should get to our housekeeping, and then we will dive a little bit further into this book here. So let's get on to a break for housekeeping. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. If you didn't know, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. But none of this is possible without your support. Head over to patreon.com/thewhatnauts, and you can get access to over 40 hours of exclusive content, including our Patreon first podcast, The Pilots Club, when you sign up at our $3 tier. Of course, there is a free version of the Pilots Club available, but episodes are exclusive to our Patreon for 2 years before they hit the free feeds. If you're interested in buying merch, we have shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more for sale over at thewhatnauts.com/store. Another great way to help us out is by subscribing and leaving a nice rating and review on your podcasting app of choice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for video versions of the show, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, you can always find out more information about the shows we make on our website, thewhatnauts.com. All right, we are back once again. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you a lot. Thank you. It means a ton. Over on the Pilots Club, we have been doing the Year of the Detective. So if you like detective fiction and stuff like that, you might be interested in what we've been up to over on the Pilots Club. We got to watch the first episode of the Hulu original series of The Hardy Boys. So that is our most recent episode on that. And then over on the free version of the Pilots Club, an honorary inductee into the Year of the Detective, we released our episode on Veronica Mars. So you guys can go check out that as well. Lots of good fun stuff over there. Right here on this show, on the review show, our previous episode was on The Terrifics, volumes 1 and 2. We read some comics that was inspired both by the recent Superman and Fantastic Four movies that have been in theaters. If you guys enjoyed Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho in the Superman movie and wanted to know a little bit more about them, they are two of the stars of those comics. And The Terrifics is basically DC's riff on the Fantastic Four. So we had a blast with that. Go check out the Terrifics. And then over on the Captain's Log, this past episode, we got into some weird laws in our states and stuff like that. Like apparently it was illegal to have an open comic book in a motor vehicle in Norman, Oklahoma, at least at some point. I don't know if that law is still active or not, but the guy at my local comic book store told me that. So there you go. We also watched the trailer to Rental Family and got excited about that. Melissa, you talked about going to see Weapons.
Yes, Rental Family is not, it's like a small, heartwarming indie film that may get a Best Actor nod at the Golden Globes. It's so small of news.
It looks
but
so
yes,
good,
we did both enjoy this trailer.
Yeah. You went to go see Weapons and got to talk a little bit about that. And I talked about that show Paradise, also on Hulu. So go check out the Captain's Log. But yeah, that is about it for housekeeping. So I guess it's time for us to get into some spoilers for Secret Identity. All right. Melissa, let me ask you, unless you have a spot that you really want to start with, I have a question to kick things off. What was something that surprised you about this book? Maybe something you weren't expecting?
The multitude of mysteries. There's so many. At least for the reader. There's not necessarily that Carmen herself is trying to solve. Because there's who killed Harvey, why did Harvey take her name off the comic they were writing, but then you as the reader also have these mysteries of Carmen's past to solve.
Right.
What's the deal with her and Catherine? What's the deal with her and her father?
Yeah, or like what really happened at Triumph comics, because that is ultimately like the core mystery behind everything of like, okay, there was not Triumph. What was the one?
Bulwark.
Thank you. Yeah.
The murder of Harvey and the removal of her credits spins out into all of these other sub mysteries where she has to dive into defunct publishers. I love how much of this book is on defunct media. That really speaks to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one because you get this whole mystery of like stealing credit and the way comic book publishers have worked and still work, where if you create a character for Marvel, they own that character and stuff like that. And there is the guy that is the murderer basically tried to use that as a way to farm IP and then like steal all of the IP. Like there's some like in the weeds comic book stuff here of like it. Well, if we get all these creators to make different characters or story pitches, and then we never really publish them, we still own them and we can do what they want. And then we can fire the artists and writers. And, if all of that stuff happens to go missing down the road, if this company, if Bulwark goes out and goes belly up, then like someone still owns these characters somehow, some way, right? And yeah, then they start seeing these characters being used in other places, and that's when he's like, that's my character. You can't use that pitch here, which is interesting. And artists and creators and writers not liking stuff like that, wanting to own their creations and have control of like the creative work behind it and the story of where this character will go down the road. That's how you start to get things like Image Comics and the creator owned stuff. that you see out there. But yeah, I like how in the weeds that can be, but also it makes sense and is fun and is just like, all right, so this guy made something and then it got stolen and then he thought he owned it, but he didn't really. But the whole thing is complicated. It makes for a really interesting mystery. Besides, like he stole some money. Or
yes, this involves a lot more. This involves a lot more technicalities.
Yeah.
I love a mystery that hinges on a technicality and very niche industry details.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. I think it leads to a good murder mystery because you do the character that is murdered, Harvey Stern. He seems just kind of an average guy. Like people have decent things to say to him. He doesn't really seem like he's mixed up in all that bad stuff until there's that one scene where we see him in an argument with someone, and then just his like general like awkwardness. That's not necessarily the right word, but just like
he's just sort of. This is not a bad guy. This is just sort of a hapless kid who makes dumb, impulsive decisions, but he means well.
Yeah. And I think because of that, he's not someone's lover, but he's just this, like, you like him just enough to be like,
yes,
something this bad shouldn't have happened to him. Like, what is going on here? So yeah, I think some real good mysteries involved in this one. Talk to me about Carmen. What did you think about Carmen?
I like Carmen. She's very specific. She feels very lived in. She's Cuban. She's from Miami. She has all these fond memories of Miami. She came up to New York to work in comics. She's got all these things in her past that she's dealing with that are slowly being revealed to the audience. Things like she's got this ex-girlfriend who comes back up into her life. And I like that she's so focused on her job and her work that it's not even clear that she's gay for like hot chapters and chapters into the book.
Yeah.
It's a part of her identity that she's sort of holding at arm's length. Because she's gotten out of this bad relationship, isn't sure where she wants to go next, and is like, but comics, though. My true first love is comics.
Yeah, and she's a career woman. Like, she wants to make it in the biz. That is her focus. I think the part about her being from Miami and then moving up to New York mirrors Alex Segura's journey. They say in the little back about the author that he is a Miami native and now lives in New York with his wife and children.
And the little bit we get of Miami does feel so vivid.
Yes. Yeah. Even the flashbacks to like being a kid and seeing the comics on the spinner rack and having a parent buy you and stuff like that. Like I have stories that my dad has told me like that. Even how he used to have when he lived in California, he had a run that he would do on his bike, and he would go to all of the 7-Elevens. Because they had comics at there. And so he would go to each one to see what ones that one had versus the ones that one had. So stuff like that feels, really authentic, really special. And I think really helps to build out the character that is Carmen Valdez, right? She feels like someone I know. Even if I have not met her personally, I know different aspects of her from other people that I've met or I've interacted with. And that's always fun to see.
Yeah.
Even if the story is like bits and pieces pulled from other people and stuff like that, it comes together
it feels very
in a really
cohesive.
nice way. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I really appreciated is the relationship between Carmen and her roommate, Molly.
Mhm.
I have had a number of roommates in my life who I did not previously know. I just needed to fill the room, went to Facebook Marketplace, found a girl, liked her. We became friends, but that's not a dynamic you frequently see in a lot of media of, oh, we just moved in together. We don't know each other well, but we do like each other. We spend time together. We have a strange intimacy. It's
Yeah.
lived in and it's not lived in. That's a very specific dynamic that I think was portrayed very well. I've had exactly that going on with a number of different girls. Like, well, we're both here. I'm going somewhere. Would you like to go with me? I ask you because you live here. You live in the same place I do.
Because you are within 5 feet of me.
Yes. I guess we do this thing together now. Yes.
Yeah. Even with the roommates I've had over the years, like there's ones that I kind of knew better than the others, ones that I like because of the places that I've lived, didn't really see them much. Like they paid their rent and all that stuff, right? But like our schedules were so different but yeah, there's these different degrees of how much you might know someone, and I think their proximity is very close because they really only have a thin divider between their beds, so it seems maybe more like a large studio apartment rather than like here's a 2-bedroom, but yeah, there is like a weird intimacy that you can sometimes get just by being like in that close proximity with someone. And that's just it's one thing to be like, oh, you're someone I've known for a long time, but then it's weird to be like, all right, day one, my name's Carmen. What's yours? Right? Like,
yeah. And I like the journey she goes on when you first meet the two of them together. Carmen's like, yeah, I like Molly. Molly's fun, I guess. And then by the end of the book, she's like, the two of them have really bonded. They have become very, very close friends.
Yeah. That was a fun. It's a fun journey that's happening in the background of all of this, because it's not necessarily there on the page all that much. But yeah, right. By the end of it, she feels more like family than just a roommate you met through someone else you kind of know.
Yeah. Like the specificity of that journey. And Molly's who I was talking about when talking about how this emulates noir to me. Okay. This is a book with a lot of very gray characters and a lot of characters that Carmen feels ambivalent towards. Everything's very muddy. There's not really highlights and lowlights of good and evil. Even antagonistic characters, somebody like Catherine, when she's first introduced, you think is actually going to be worse than she ends up being, maybe. Like, she's not a villain. She's just a very toxic, troublesome person who you need to get out of her life. But she's not a criminal mastermind. And there's also no angels and no devils in this story. And Molly is always sweet, always supportive, but she's good, but she's not a do-gooder. She is not a hero. She is not really going out of her way to do much. The whole book kind of, if like 0 is evil and 10 is good, the whole book kind of operates between like a 3 and an 8 on like the morality scale. Everything's a lot more muddy and neutral, and yeah, I like this person. They're nice. And I think that grayness is what makes it feel like a noir to me.
Yeah. Even when we go to Carmen's boss, like,
yes,
we kind of don't like him. Yeah, he's a little bit of an asshole, but like deep down does actually care for Carmen. And when she gets hurt and stuff like that, it's just like, man, this sucks. Like I wouldn't wish this on you. Like for anything, right? And you're just like, okay, he's he's not that bad.
Yes. And there's a lot of characters that are like that. Even Harvey, she's like, Harvey was like kind of annoying, but she's like, I like him enough. I wish I liked him more. I just can't like him that much, but I'm still kind of on his side. I like that the murder victim is not this beautiful angel who she must avenge. She's just like, he was an okay kid. He had potential. Why is he dead?
He feels like the kind of character that you've seen in media where like the bully puts his hand on someone else's head and Harvey's sitting there like, hey,
right,
stop it, like waving his
That's not literally
hands.
what's happening, but that is spiritually what's happening. You're right.
It's spiritually, because like in his awkwardness, he is a guy that like if a woman is nice in his general direction, then he's just like, oh wow, potential girlfriend, right? Like,
yep.
So that is like the annoying sense about him. But it's just like, man, if he would just if he would just stop that, he'd be all right.
Yes.
Yes. He'd be okay. And
the other guys in the comic book office, you don't get to know them that well. It's just sort of a parade of different names. They're also like just straight down the middle guys. Carmen seems to neither love nor hate any of them.
Yeah, I think the one she has maybe the closest relationship to is Rich.
I like Rich.
Is the one that's like, real recognize rail. Like, I know you have tastes, and like here's this one. Like, have you checked out that one yet?
And even when he steps in and starts writing the links at the end of the story, she's like, it was fine. It was solid. It's nothing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not what I would have done.
I don't think that's the guy that steps in to write. That's someone else.
No, like truly after everything is wrapped up and Rich leaves Triumph, then he's a freelancer and then he's the one who picks up the links for the while in sort of like the epilogue of the story.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I like that even the character she is the closest to, she's like, I don't know if we're really friends. We enjoy having intellectual discussions about our work. And when in another story, somebody might step in to save the day, she's like, he's a steady hand with the story. I really like how everything in this book, it is a strength that it is all kind of muted and foggy. And it's not that good. It's not that bad.
I wonder if that has to do with her sexuality, though, of like keeping all of these men at arm's length, so to speak, just not interested in ways that maybe some typical noir might have included. But she then has those relationships with a couple of the other women in this book here instead. So that stuff is still in there to an extent, but just like there is this like a bunch of these characters feel like they're just at arm's length, right? And they're just like,
yes,
he's fine.
Right. Carmen is a very guarded character. She is hesitant to let people into her life, and she doesn't have any real friends. She has like work friends. She has a roommate she's friendly with, but that's it. She will occasionally mention like, oh, I had a friend from back in Miami who moved up here, and then I got in touch with that person, and that's how I met Molly. But they're incidental. Right. We never really spend any time with them. She's quite a lonely person.
Yeah. How did you feel about Carmen in the workspace, in the office? How was she there?
I liked it. She is the head publisher's like secretary, receptionist, but I think the story shows how much responsibility she has. She's like, this is not where I want to be, but she's like, I'm always busy. I'm always doing something. I get to touch a lot of different parts of the business. It is not demeaning, the position that she's in. I think as somebody who's been in similar positions, it gives some honor to the administrative professional.
Yeah, there is a real like secret or hidden power in that
Yes,
position
yes.
where like you control like the flow of messages going in and out to the boss. You know who's sick and who's not and who's working on what.
Yes.
She controls all of the information in the office, so to speak.
I am in a similar position. I am trying to I do a little event planning for my office. And one of the events we're trying to put together is a panelist of local female CEOs. And I happen to meet like the head of HR at a local company that does have a female CEO. And I was able to reach out to her and say, do you know if the CEO would be available to join our panel? And she's like, I don't know. I'll have to check. And then gets back to me like a week or two later. And I realize, even if you are that high up in the company, it's not like you have access to everybody else's calendar. Whereas I, even though I am the lowest on the totem pole, that is what I have. I have everybody's calendar because I schedule the meetings. So I know what everybody is doing at all times. And if you need to know something, I can have it to you in 30 seconds. That is my secret power.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, what stood out to me about Carmen in the workplace is the forcefulness with which she like wields herself, right? Whether that be her daily office duties and scheduling things and passing notes and delivering pages and stuff like that, or just dealing with the sexual advances of the people that are in and out of the office, right? I loved that scene where I believe it is Stevenson that comes in and is like, go get me breakfast, right? And she's just like, you're a grown man, go get it yourself, and like knocks his money off of her desk into the trash, like, no, fuck you. Like, and
she's like, I get Carlisle's meals because I am his direct assistant. Yeah, right, I don't report to you. You do have to get it yourself.
Yeah. There is a level of forcefulness with which she does her job that I really admire, because I feel like I don't know if I'm pulling this from like movies I've seen or other like mystery books that I've read, but I feel like the stereotype of the female receptionist, right, in the office does kind of get degraded into that position where you are just there to go get breakfast for everyone or whoever wants.
You have to be everybody's mom.
Right. Yeah. And that's not like, she's like, Carmen is right about this. Like, no, I don't work for you. I work for him. And so I'll go get his stuff, but not you. Like, I don't like, even though I vaguely know who you are, I don't work for you. I don't like, no, I don't need to go do this. And I think that's a rare sight, because I think even still at that time, it feels almost dangerous, if that makes sense, to like stand up to the men like that forcefully. I don't know. I'm not a woman, right? I'm not in those situations, so I can't really speak. But I like that scene in particular was just like, hell yeah, good for her. Like, that's awesome. So good stuff there. Good stuff. The comic that they are making.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's talk about that. What did you think about the links?
I liked the links. I liked that it started as this very sort of hack premise of like a woman with cat powers, which just iterates on Catwoman. All these other
6 or 7 women with
cat
powers.
I think I like that the book is aware of how repetitive comics can be, and how sometimes that's a crutch, and sometimes that is how that can work in all the shenanigans of, you took my character and you changed it just enough to be distinct. Like, I can tell you used my basis and you changed it only enough so that I have like nothing to sue over, etc., etc. Yeah. But how it can also be, the slates are blank enough that you can pour so much of yourself in there. And you can take these basic archetypes and use them as this jumping off point for things that really mean something to you. And in a comic book spinner rack of 6 different cat women. What is it that makes your Catwoman stand out?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because it's not just a like, oh, well, that book sold well for that other company, so we need something legally distinct, but you know, the Walmart knockoff of it, right? It is also a chance for an artist and a writer to be like, that's all you did with that book? We have something else to say with this. Like, we can do so much more with that, and we'll show you, right? And even though that is not specifically Carmen's motivation to write this character or stuff like that, she is collaborating with Harvey to make this character, and it is Harvey's insistence that they do this like cat-like costume and stuff like that. Carmen's story is much more akin to her own story of like, I'm a woman in a man's world trying to prove myself that I'm not just some receptionist that goes to get everyone's breakfast, right? She's making a superhero who is not the like scantily clad, sexy, you know, super powered character, but is trying to be like, okay, but if this character was Daredevil or Batman or something like that, what story would you give him? You wouldn't give like sexy Daredevil.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you would, and we might like that. There is some great stuff between him and Elektra. But like there's different scenes and different positions that you put those kinds of characters in. So she's like, sure, we'll give her like the cat like costume, but we'll put her more in this scenarios like over this way. So she's not really like, she doesn't really have like cat powers or 9 lives per se or stuff like that. She's just kind of a detective and right, getting into all these superheroics and stuff like that. And yeah, like I think it's cool because comics can feel like all of those things at once. You can read a comic and be like, man, this is the most like flimsy cardboard thing I have ever read. And then you can also read something and be like, this was deeply personal and detailed in a way that I haven't seen before.
Yeah. And it is a medium where it has to keep coming out. It churns perpetually and goes through all these cycles. And you just have to get something out by the deadline. And sometimes it's flimsy. And sometimes you get the right collaborators on it at the right time in their lives. And then it is gold.
Yeah.
It isn't like novels. You were not recording. Where it's like, we have to get the next great American novel out by end of quarter for the newsstands.
Yeah,
I think
please continue.
I think
yeah.
The other stories that are mentioned in the book feel very real. All the other B-tier heroes or lower that Triumph publishes feel like great right. I like Avatar, which is the story of like a Captain America type figure who then it gets one real acid head trippy hippie writer on it, and he's like, no, like a cosmic god gave him these powers, and now he's turning his back on the government and he's wandering as a nomad. That
Incredible.
Feels very true. That feels like such a real comic of that time.
What's so funny is like someone like me who's a little bit more in tuned to the comic book industry than you are. There's things that like I can see like, oh, this is obviously a direct reference to so and so. Like Doug Detmer feels a little bit about. Feels very similar to what I know about Steve Ditko. He's not exactly, but right, just like there's some things in there. I'm like, okay, I can see some things, but then there's stuff like this Avatar story, which just feels like a mix of so many things. It's like, okay, what if Captain America but has maybe the look and feel of like a Doctor Strange book, but also
Yeah.
maybe Alan Moore wrote it
Yes.
at one point, and then, but it's also like something else, and now it's like the hard traveling heroes when Green Lantern and Green Arrow were just traveling around the country. Like, what is happening here?
There's there's some direct one-to-one matches, and others feel like pastiches of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But in a way that does feel real enough to me. You buy all of these names as full-fledged stories of their own, or at least in the flimsy way where Triumph Comics is like, I don't know, we got to have a guy who does this. Somebody make up guy who does this. We need it at the printers by the 5th. Just do it.
Right, yeah. I liked how after the murder of Harvey, they do have, I mean, like you said, there's deadlines. So they have to get this book out, and they hire another writer, another artist, and the book just a complete left turn 180, like just changes. And it still sells well because of the momentum those first 6 issues had, but people just really don't like those 2 issues. It's so strange. And then to have Carmen have to come back to the book and ghostwrite more issues that then incorporates these ideas from someone else, and like, well, do we say it's just a dream? Like, what's happening here?
Right. What do we do with this that doesn't just erase it? We kind of need to retcon it, but we need to have the retcon have some sort of real narrative purpose. And what does it say about the character? The cycles that everything goes through of transformation month to month. I like that part of the story.
Yeah, because it provides some stake, because like as much as you care about trying to figure out and solve the mystery, I feel like you at the very least equally care, if not more so, about Carmen being able to make this comic.
Yeah.
And so yeah, when she has to go through all of that stuff, it is like fascinating on a technical level. You're rooting for her. And yeah, it's just I completely forget where I was going with that, but it's such an interesting part of the book that it's like I almost forgive it for being like, it's kind of a slower mystery at times until the end when things have kind of snowballed enough, right? But yeah, it's a fascinating read even when it's not focusing on the mystery.
Yes. There's always something going on.
Yeah, which I don't have a direct example of one that does something similar and is like, well, I don't care about this part of the book. I wish it would just get back. But I feel like that's there has to be a handful of stuff out there that's
exist.
Like that. Yeah.
In certain detective mystery-based TV shows, we're like, come on, I don't care about modern Yellow Jackets. Show me more fucked up stuff in the woods in the 90s.
I care about modern Yellow Jackets.
I like them, but not as much as I like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just show me like they have to eat a bear or a bear eats them. There's no bears in the modern timeline.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Doug Detmer at all? What did you think about him?
He's a beautiful character. He's so tragic that he's like this incredible artist who just has this drinking problem and is so disorganized and late and irresponsible that the industry has passed him by just because nobody wants to work with him. Like, they respect him as an artist, but they're like, logistically, that guy is a nightmare. You're going to get incredible work out of him, but you're going to get it late.
Yeah.
I can't work with that. It shows that the churn, the thing that makes comics mean something to people, which is that it's this ever-present ritual in your life. Like once a week, once a month, you go to the store, you get your book, you see the story grow and change and morph across years of your life, is the thing that can really destroy the lives of the people making it. The deadlines to keep up with, and if that's not, even if you do incredible work, if you cannot work with the deadline, you're not on the project. Goodbye, genius artist Doug Detmer.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I like him because I feel like even back in the 70s, or even earlier than that, as comics were first getting started, you have artists that the other artists are kind of looking to and being like, man, that guy's good. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
like trying to emulate his style and stuff like that. And I like that we have a character like that in this book here, where they say he is the artist. Like they look to him as like, but man, his stuff is so good. Like there's just
Mm-hmm.
something about it. And whether you can kind of emulate it or not is it's still hard to achieve exactly what he does somehow. Like he has some kind of vision that he's putting into all his art, that
Mm-hmm.
is just kind of unmatched by everyone else. But then yes, he also has this kind of tragic side to him where, okay, he's maybe a little bit past his prime, he's a little bit slower than he used to be, or than what we would like. He's maybe a little unreliable, and it just makes him difficult to work with, so we can't put him on the big book that we would want him
Mm.
on, because we need that to be reliable. And yeah, I think his death, oddly enough, in this book is, I think, the most
Yeah.
tragic for me,
Mm-hmm.
because like we see Harvey's death, and I'm gonna circle back around to that in a second here, but then Carmen gets attacked eventually. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember if that is before or after. Oh God, well, what's her name? I'm blanking on her name. The other
Marion.
woman, Marion. Thank you. I don't remember
It's
if that's
after
before or after.
Marion. Carmen is attacked after Marion is attacked, and right as she's leaving that journalist's place, Stuart, then she goes in the hospital, then she gets Detmer's final pages, and then we go into the
Right.
discovery of Detmer's body.
Yeah, and it's the note that he leaves her
Yeah.
in these like final pages, which is, for lack of better terms, a suicide note.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is the thing that tips her off. Like, no, something bad happened. And yeah, just her having that moment of realization, hearing like saying the words that Alex Segura wrote about the pages like falling
Mm-hmm.
as she's getting
Yeah.
out of the bed is just tragic, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
so sad, but it's such a great piece in there, and that was the one that I think affected me the
Yes.
most, because I was like, I like, of all the characters that Carmen has kind of kept at arm's length, he's the one I like the most. Like he's like this, like a sad puppy,
Yeah.
right? Even though he's not like following Carmen around like a puppy, he's just like, I just kind of want to love on him, right? Like, oh man,
Right.
you're
Or
something
he's like
special.
a very, very old dog that it
Yeah,
can't walk, can't see.
yeah.
And the book is very knowing about the legacy that comic books have, where Carmen remarks that she knows the nerdy, devoted fan base of comics, and she's like, I know Doug Detmer's name will never be completely forgotten. People will know him, but he will be a mark of pride for comic book nerds to say that they know who he is and like one up another comic book nerd in a conversation. He won't have a legacy as himself. He'll have a legacy as like, but did you know? He'll have trivial legacy going forward, which is not he will be a fun fact. He will not be a man.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which is like just makes it that much more tragic that that's what he will be remembered as. To circle back around to Harvey's death, when Carmen discovers the body, that passage also is, in my mind, phenomenal. Where she's like backing out of the apartment, running down the hall in the elevator, and she finally like she's like she talks about like, I'm hearing a scream, and the screams are happening like all the way down the hall. Who is it coming from? And it's not till she's almost out of the building that she realizes it's her screaming. Which I know when we talked about the House of Leaves, the last book that we discussed on the show, there's a particular passage in there that I was like, this is one of the scariest things that I've ever read.
Yes.
And this kind of reminds me of that passage. It's not to the same effect, but it is this like surreal out of body experience that Carmen has, and you as the reader has, because you're reading about Carmen hearing these screams, and then as Carmen realizes that it's her, you're also realizing that it's her. And I don't know, there's just something about it that just hits. It's just like, this was good. Yeah. Like, I like this. That makes a lot of sense that she doesn't even recognize her own scream in the midst of this terrible thing that she's seeing. Right.
Noir stories more often than not have the hard-boiled detective protagonist. Or somebody who, even if being a detective is not literally their job, they are somebody who's sort of weathered and beaten. And as guarded as and haunted as Carmen is, she's in way over her head. She is not prepared for this. She's seen like toxic relationships. She has not seen gunshots. This is new. And she's somebody who's so steely in some ways and so vulnerable in other ways.
Yeah.
And I like that when she has to take Marion to dinner, and then when she has to take Stuart to dinner, she's trying to solve the mystery. She's trying to get information from these people. And they're like, well, we can discuss it over dinner. And Carmen's like, oh my God, I have to pick up the check. I don't get paid enough for this, but I have to play along. If this person wants to go out and have wine and clams,
wine, please, a second bottle.
Yes. Right. Carmen's like, okay, all right, which you've seen in stories before, but you've not seen it from this person's perspective of, sure hope I can make rent this month after I have to buy somebody wine to get them to talk about industry secrets. Why can't anybody just ask for a hot dog? Why can't we have a hot dog meeting?
Yeah, go to the park and have a little hot dog from the hot dog cart.
We got to put that on our list of bingo tropes, our bingo card full of pop culture tropes. Clandestine meeting at hot dog cart. I'm going to write it down right now.
Oh, man. She's completely unprepared for what she sees. She's in over her head. But it's like you said, despite how kind of defensive she is, or at least just like guarded, she cares for people. Like she is empathetic in a way. Like, even if I'm not friends with you, I still care and want to know what happened. Like she ends up kind of I don't know if confessing is the right word, but confessing that yes, Harvey is a friend. Even if he's not the greatest friend of mine, maybe more like in a work acquaintance, right? He's a friend. And I think that's the driving force of her curiosity, in at least part of it, for like wanting to solve his murder and what happened to him, is just the empathy she feels for him, of just being like, man, this sucks. I want to know what happened, just because he was my friend. That's it. And then I think in the midst of that, realizing that this is still maybe her only shot to really be a comic book writer like she wants to be, and being like, well, I kind of need to salvage this because this is my baby. This is the Lynx. This is my character here, right? So yeah, there's lots of ins and outs here that I think really build this out into just a great story in general. Some great mysteries, some good characters. are just fun. Like
I don't know if it's, there's not a lot of levity in the book. There's not really jokes. There's not a comic relief character, but it's never quite so heavy.
Yes, exactly.
It is toned quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a good time. Like I said, there's never a bit or a moment that I'm just like, kind of like, all right, let's move along here. There's always something interesting happening on the page, which is a lot of fun. So, and I like how even the like interludes of these comics, like have loose interpretations to what is happening in Carmen's life too. Right?
Yes. They're not quite. Yeah, they're not direct one-to-ones. They are a touch more abstract.
Yeah, indeed.
I also like how this does take place. It is a fictional company, but they've set it in the real world of comics where there is Marvel, there is DC. And like at one point, Carmen goes to a comic convention. And she's there just very briefly to sort of make an appearance for work. But it's like, yeah, Lin Wein is here.
Yeah,
we're not talking to him. He's not a character, but
there
rest assured, right? Marv Wolfman exists in this world.
Yeah, that's so fun for me to read. Like that like those moments may be the most light that the book is. Just to be like,
yes,
I was in the same room as Bernie Wrightson. Right, yeah, like here we go.
And I talked about how no characters in this book are like really that good. The most angelic of a character we get is when everybody's talking about the Patti Smith show. We're like, wow, we were just all on a high, just walking on a cloud after seeing the Patti Smith show. She's a beacon of good for this world.
It's great.
The purest being we've ever created, Patti Smith.
Yeah. The other detail that I want to mention here that I don't have much to say on besides that I liked its inclusion is the like I think they do volleyball in this
yes.
in like a staff
very
volleyball
charming
game in the park, which feels a lot like the baseball games that Marvel would do, or that Chris Claremont would include in his X-Men comics, that they would just do like these baseball games out in the park. Stuff like that is just really fun to see. Has no bearing on the story or the mystery, but is just
it
like,
lets her meet Marion,
fun.
And that's it.
Yeah, just fun, like inter-comic publisher volleyball league, right? Just good fun. So, yeah, I enjoyed this book a lot. I highly recommend it. Do you have any other kind of things you think we missed you want to mention?
It's a great time. There's a lot going on in the book. It's got all these layers. There's things like, I like that at the end, Carmen has, it's like she can't really go back to the Lynx, and her relationship to the Lynx is almost like her relationship to Catherine. Like, I loved you once. There were times when you made me feel alive, but there's so much baggage here. I am so bruised. Yeah. I can't really go back there.
Yeah.
She's like, I just have to move on and become something else, get into something else.
Yeah, that feels real in its own way too. In the way that a lot of women in comics from that era and before the few that there were are kind of forgotten in a tragic way, or their true accomplishments are kind of looked over, or they're pushed out, right? And it's just like, well, yeah, I made this one thing. I'm super proud of it. I loved it. I loved every second I got to spend on this thing, despite the tragedy around it. But also, I don't know, there's just something that I just can't go back there. And it feels like there are stories out there that follow that exact same path, or ones we haven't discovered yet that are
Mm.
like, and that's why they never made anything again, or that's why they quit and moved on to something else, or
Mm-hmm.
now they write books, or now they do
Yeah,
this.
and in the epilogue, we see that Carmen left the industry, did one graphic novel memoir of her life that's been like a cult classic, wrote prose novels. It's just like kept doing something creative, kept being a storyteller, but was like the heyday of comic book issues and superheroes I needed to get away from. The well was kind of poisoned for me.
Yeah, indeed.
But it's still a life to be proud of. I like checking in with her at the end, and I think that's an interesting setup for where this sequel book goes. I watched an interview with Alex Segura on a YouTube channel called Casually Comics that I check in with
I
sometimes.
believe that's a fairly recent one. I think I saw that on
yeah,
social media.
It was just this
too.
week.
Yeah.
Yes, brand new. And he mentioned the sequel book Alter Ego. And at that point, I wasn't clear on if it is a literal sequel or a spiritual sequel, because he mentioned that it took place in modern times. I'm like, well, she'd still be alive. She'd be like in her 70s. She's probably still active, but like maybe not. Have you read this yet, Alter Ego? Do you know how involved Carmen is in the sequel book?
She is not super involved in the sequel, but the book picks up literally where the epilogue ends. As that journalist is leaving her house, that's where the book starts. And yeah, there are plenty of connections to Secret Identity. Doug Detmer kind of comes up quite a bit in that, and it still has to do with the links. It's still like that character is still a central like force in the book. I devoured the sequel to the book. I loved it in the way that in the way that Secret Identity talks about the Jack Kirbys, the Stan Lees, the Steve Ditkos, right? Alter Ego talks about the Greg Ruccas, the Kelly Sue DeConnicks, right? The Tom Kings and Elsa Chartiers, right? It mentions like people like those. I read the sequel earlier this year, and remember on the Captain's Log when I was like, Melissa, when was the last time you read an entire book in a weekend? Right.
Oh, yeah.
It was as a result of that book. I read Alter Ego in like a day and a half because I was just like, this is so good. So, yes. Yeah. That is one of my main recommendations, but we will get to that in just a sec. Let's get on to our bingo cards here and check in on review show bingo. I don't know if we got anything here.
I already took a look.
Weird that we didn't get Times Square, since this is set in New York.
I guess it's like grimy 70s New York, where Times Square is not what Times Square is today. I guess there's no reason she would go there. Nobody's framed for the murder. This is not that kind of a story. There's times when Detective Hudson
is right.
She gets close, and like nobody else is framing her. It's just that she was the one to find the body. She had this dynamic with Harvey. And Detective Hudson, who's a character I really liked. She felt fleshed out enough that it was almost like a backdoor pilot for a Detective Hudson series. She comes close to having the evidence to look at Carmen like a suspect, but that's not the same as, like, Dan Stevenson is not framing her for murder.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We don't have a kooky office lady. Nobody has a secret birthday. There's nobody goes through a terrible day and then admits, today was my birthday. There's no villain layer. Yeah.
I'm trying to look, the closest one that I think I have would be Fight in the Rain, and I'm wondering if any of these comic book pages depict rain. But we do have one here. It's the excerpt from the legendary Lynx number 6, Forged by Fire. She's surrounded by a bunch of cops, and it's raining, and they all have their guns drawn.
You can take it,
lady. Freeze.
Oh, that gives you another bingo. I still don't have one.
Give me another bingo. Heck yeah. Waiting to talk in the shadows. We do have that one. Yeah. Yep. Waiting to talk in the shadows. Where did I have that one? Oh, so here's this. We have foe waiting in the shadows to talk. At least that's how I wrote it down specifically. Is that what was the the spirit of that one?
That's a scene that you often see from the protagonist's perspective, but if the protagonist is the one waiting in shadow to talk to their antagonist, that counts too.
Okay, so then that's what we got at the end here from Carmen. Cool. I think that's all I have from this one.
Yep, I couldn't get anything this time.
Okay. And well, that is another bingo for me. Heck yeah.
And not to get too into it, but the rest of our calendar from this year is a lot of period stories. So our pickings are going to be slim. I don't think you're going to see a flip phone through the entire rest of the year.
Yeah, I needed 2 more, but I don't think I'll get those. So, oh well. Cool. Well, that was our little bingo update for everyone. Melissa, let's get into recommendations for people that enjoyed this book. What else might they like?
There are a few things in our review show history that I thought were particularly relevant. Mm-hmm. On episode 258, we watched The Watermelon Woman. This is an iconic piece of Black queer indie cinema. It's about this lesbian who works at a video store, is interested in film history, and finds this Black actress from the early days of cinema who she's fascinated with, and tries to find out who was she, where did she come from, where did she go, who really was this woman. And this is a fictional actress, but it's similarly a media mystery. We have this woman who's dealing with her own relationship troubles and looking at this lost female artist from history and asking, who are you? Why did this happen to you? Which makes the movie sound a lot more dark and mysterious than it is. It's kind of like a light comedy. It's a very interesting movie.
Bits of it that reminded me of Clerks. The scenes in the video store reminded me of that. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
On episode 302, we watched Zodiac, and the scene where Carmen goes to Stuart, the journalist's apartment, and he's just sort of lurking around while she paws through his filing cabinet really reminded me of the scene where Jake Gyllenhaal has to go in the guy's basement to look at an old movie poster.
Yeah.
And on that, one of my favorite YouTube video essayists is Patrick H. Willems. And he did a video on what he calls documents movies. The video is titled, "Why Are Movies About Research So Addictive?" And in that video, he talks a lot about Zodiac, about the thrill of watching a mystery-solving movie where somebody is just going through a filing cabinet. And he talks about the power that it has on screen. But this is a documents book. Secret Identity is mostly about paperwork.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the same principles apply. On episode 312, we read the first 2 issues of Love Everlasting. This is a comic series this was Tom King and Elsa Chartier. This is about a woman who finds herself trapped in an endless cycle of 1960s romance comics, the things that are in Roy Lichtenstein paintings of the woman with her back of her hand on her forehead, like, Brad will never love me. she's trapped in those. And as soon as she thinks she's found her true love, she gets rebooted into a new one. And she's trying to figure out what is real. Why am I here? Who am I? I keep going through all of these different phases because there's like there's romance comics from different periods where she's in like the Revolutionary War or the Old West. And then there's a mysterious cowboy figure who's following her around. Also, speaking of mysterious cowboy figures, we watched Mulholland Drive earlier this year. That was on episode 314. Watch Mulholland Drive if you just want more lesbian mysteries.
Sure, yeah. Good stuff.
And
good
finally,
stuff.
This book being set in grimy New York City of 40 years ago reminded me of a movie that's been on my to-watch list for a long time. And I said, I'm finally watching it. I declare, now I watch this movie. It was actually made in 1985, so it was not exactly the same time period as in Secret Identity. But I finally watched Martin Scorsese's After Hours.
Okay.
It's from 85. It's an earlier Scorsese. It's more of a comedy. I suppose it's closest in tone to Wolf of Wall Street. It's about this guy who's just like a word processor in an office. Back when word processor was a job a human had and not just what Microsoft Word did. And he goes out to a diner one evening. He meets this girl. He gets her number. Later that evening, when he gets home, he gives her a call and she asks him to come over. And at that point, it's already 11:30 p.m. But he leaves. He goes out to meet her. And he spends the whole night getting into escapade after escapade. He loses his keys, he loses his money, and all he wants, forget about getting laid. He just wants to go back home and go to sleep. And he cannot escape any situation that he's in. It's so surprising and funny and strange. Not quite as relevant to this book as I thought it might be, but I loved After Hours. Check it out.
Interesting. There you go. I am pulling up a few things on my recommendations here. Let me start with Alex Segura's other works and stuff. Like we said, there is a direct sequel to this book called Alter Ego. I don't own that one yet, but it is on my list of things to get. Yeah, if you want more mysteries happening in the world of comics, in this world of comics specifically, and stuff focusing around the Lynx and Carmen and Doug Detmer and all of that stuff, go check out Alter Ego. But Alex Segura also does does all sorts of novels and comics and stuff like that. He has a few other mystery novels. He's written a Star Wars novel specifically about Poe Dameron. So if you're wanting some Poe Dameron content, go get that. He's also, I think, in the next month or two, is releasing a Daredevil book, a prose novel, Daredevil books. I'm super excited about that one.
Cool.
But yeah, he has a few other stuff. He's also currently writing Marvel's main Star Wars comics right now. I think the first 6 issues of that are out right now. So yeah, if you're a big Star Wars fan, he's writing some of that stuff. Then other things. So the book that I would recommend that I felt just like matches this vibe perfectly is a book called Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I think I read this book at the end of last year, or like early this year. Absolutely loved that book. Incredible. It is a kind of mystery noir book set in 1990s Mexico City. And in the way that Secret Identity talks about the comic book industry and the Stan Lees and Jack Kirby's and yada yada. Silver Nitrate talks about like early Hollywood, but specifically early horror Hollywood. So, they mention your Bela Lugosi's and whoever else. I'm not as in tuned with all of that stuff, but just an awesome mystery. It dips into the occult and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. And if you want more factual stuff about what was happening in the comic book industry, I always mix up the title. It's Marvel Comics: The Untold Story by Sean Howe. I also saw that in the acknowledgments in the back of this book, this is one of the ones that is mentioned. And if you want an in-depth history of Marvel Comics, this is the book to check out. I read this; it was fascinating. It really goes in depth as to what was happening, not just with the bigger players, but with some of the smaller, lesser known artists and writers in there, as well as just the business side of that history of how money was changing hands and stuff like that. I recommend it quite a bit if you're a big comic book fan. And if I'm not mistaken, I think if Sean Howe isn't working on it, I think I heard about someone else working on basically the equivalent of this for DC Comics. I don't know if it's going to be out in the next year or two, but that should be on the horizon down the road. Yeah, the only other book I thought to recommend is a book called Alpha by Greg Rucka, who is also a comic book writer, one of my favorites. And this book is about an ex-military guy who gets a job as the head of security for their world's version of Disney World. And while he's there, has to stop a terrorist attack, and it's kind of like a mystery thriller action book. But that one was also a lot of fun. I would put that in the same ilk as this book here, as Secret Identity. So yeah, I think those are my recommendations for this episode. There we go. Melissa, I am tossing this back to you so that we can talk about what we will be discussing for our next episode.
For our next episode, we are watching Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master. Paul Thomas Anderson has a new movie coming out in early September called One Battle After Another. He's one of my favorite directors. I'm really looking forward to this. Kyle, I think you were interested in this trailer, but had never seen this director's work before, correct?
I'm familiar with his name, but yes, that turns out I have seen none of his movies. So when I saw the trailer and was like, that looks good, you're like, oh, well, you must have seen X, Y, and Z, Punch Drunk Love. And I was like, what? Who? You were just like, oh my God, Kyle, what are you doing?
He's a director I'm newer to as well. It's only in the last 3 or 4 years I've really gotten into his filmography, and I still haven't circled around to his first movie. But I thought, let's have a little PTA meeting, and we picked The Master. You let me pick The Master. I think it is the most representative of a lot of different things this director does. I think it's going to be the nicest matchup with One Battle After Another, and give you it's his most, not that it's his most mediocre movie, but that it's his most average movie, I think. Not too dramatic, not too comedic, not too this, not too that, and very good on its own. I'm out of all the things I'm describing, I think The Master is the one you would like the best.
Okay, perfect. The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson. You said, was this available to rent or to stream, or?
I think this one's on your Plutos and Tubies or something. This one is available somewhere.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Sounds like a fun time. Yeah, that's what we will be up to next episode. But with that, let's wrap things up right there. Melissa, where can people get in contact with you?
Email me the old-fashioned way. Drop me a line at yourhostmelissa@gmail.com.
Perfect. If you guys would like to get in touch with me, I am at YoKyleSpringer on social medias. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with everything that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at thewhatnauts.com on Blue Sky. So please go like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out more of our videos right over there on that side of the screen. That would also help us out a bunch. And yeah, this has been number 324 of the Whatnauts review show. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.